Welcome to Around the Blockchain. It's going to be a fantastic episode. Today we're talking about Bitcoin being rejected. We're going to be talking about, that halving date. We're talking about crypto quants data and maybe the auditors fleeing. It's going to be fantastic. On the top right, we have, with a little more lighting today, I don't know, maybe she's on a different part of the globe. Is it flat? Nerd Girl holding it down, one of our favorite journalists. On the bottom left, we have Crypto Cowboys of Crypto. I like to call him Crypto Cowboy, but you know what? Sometimes he's like Sultans of Swing. It's pluralized for him. And on the top left, we have Farouz. I hope I say that correctly. I'm probably it'll take me a few times. I'll get there eventually. He's being nice. All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about Bitcoin. It just got rejected at 18,000. I actually want to refresh here. Then we had another one at 17,000. Let me rephrase that. Quite a little bit of action here. We have Bitcoin down 3%, Ethereum down 5.5%. BNB, a lot of major moves. Polygon, Cardano, Polkadot, Tron, everything heavily in the negative here. Solana down 8% there. Litecoin down 6.7%. Sorry, Tom Crown. Nerd Girl, we're seeing a lot of action. I mean, what do you think is causing this correction? Are we due for that next leg down? Is this part of the year-end tax write-offs? Why do you think we're seeing so much downward pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably part of it is people who are wanting to harvest losses so that they can take those losses off of their gains for the last year. So that's got to have something to do with it. And then additionally, I think that we have another full year of, trading sideways or, sometimes going down. If we're on schedule with the normal halving schedule, then we should have a full year of sideways.
Yeah, and the halving schedule also kind of correlates well with the all-time high and with the relation to that. Now, Farouz, I don't know, we haven't really talked about this. How much weight do you give the halving schedule? Just kind of looking at 2017 as a blueprint, we have all-time high. Roughly 12 months later, we're going to see that's the low, and then it's a slow grind for the next 24 months, and then we'll see another catastrophic, which that fourth year, and then it just tends to repeat there. Do you see that still repeating, maybe with less effect, or is the Bitcoin halving cycle maybe dead since we're entering our first recession?
No, I still think the halving plays a vital cycle in all of this. It is programmed to happen every 4 years, but it's 3 years, 10 months to be precise, if anyone's counting those days. Yes. But again, that introduces a standard supply shock that we see, and that then obviously escalates the price to go higher. And we've got another year and 3 months to go. It's like March 2024 for the next halving cycle. And again, I think a lot of these things do fall into a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. People are looking at these. They're using that as a basis of when to start trading into the market. And I suspect, as Nerdgirl said, next year is going to be sideways movement for many things, though, not just because of the halvening, not just because of what's happening around us, but economically, there are still recessions looming. Plenty of other countries still need to move full weight into that. And so all of these things are going to play into it. So 2023 isn't going to be a great year, but it will be a great year in order to start building up that portfolio. Preparing for the halving.
I totally agree. That slow grind is the fun time for me. Now, I'm going to take my probably first and last chance to actually you, because you actually me. Farouz is correct. It is actually 3 years, 10 months, but I'm a actually him back. That is only if we had perfectly algorithmically set 10-minute blocks. We're not going to have all the blocks be perfectly 10 minutes. So it'll be slightly above 3 years, 10 months. Yes, that's my first and last time I'll ever do that. Don't worry. Now, Cowboys of Crypto, what are your thoughts on the halving cycle? Is it going to play a big role? Or more and more people? I remember slightly hearing about it in 2017. Kind of made me wait till a little bit later to buy in. But more and more people are learning about this. Will it get to the point where so many people learning about the halving cycle, it becomes inert?
The biggest reason to buy Bitcoin is not the halving. It is for freedom. There are three things, however, in which we are waiting for a nice U-turn in the Bitcoin price in this downward trajectory, one of which is the halving. It's traditionally seen some upward momentum afterwards. Some is like 6 months or a year. I don't know. I'm not that smart, but I do know that's one thing. The second thing is a Fed pivot. You and I know that throughout this whole bear market, we have seen that the only catalyst to your and my success, whether good or bad, but I think bad, is a Fed just pumping money into the system. And if the Fed wants you to tank, they're going to take money out of the system. That's That's the second thing. And of course, the third thing is what Mr. Wonderful says, Kevin O'Leary, regulation. And I believe him. I think I agree with him. When regulation stamps itself on the crypto markets, people will be safe to fill in with a lot of money. But here's the thing, okay? Bitcoin is not going anywhere. And this is what we have to understand through price action. Bitcoin is Baba Yaga. Bitcoin is Babadook. Bitcoin is the boogeyman. You understand me? That it is not going away. How does it feel when someone has taken their best shot at you? Yeah. Someone has taken their best shot at Bitcoin and they fail. And that's what the governments, that's what the FUD, that's what all these, the news articles are all going to do to Bitcoin. It's going to try. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And if you want freedom, buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, I saw that B logo. It felt like a Jason mask, the way you're describing that. I got a little bit scared there. Now, Nerd Girl, you're a journalist, and I don't say that disparagingly. I don't think you're part of the big corporate media machine that tries to maybe push things in certain directions. But you remember the cycle where corporate media, they did eventually turn bullish on Bitcoin, but it mostly happened after we're above $50,000. Do you see something similar playing out? Are we about to enter a long period of FUD as they don't want us to accumulate at these prices?
I mean, I think really that when the big media outlets start being pro Bitcoin or pro anything, that's like a sign to sell. And it has been historically, like we've seen, celebrities getting into cryptocurrencies, celebrities getting into NFTs, and big institutions backing Bitcoin. And every time that we start to see like the next level accept, that's the time to sell. And I really think that it's because they were really secretly accumulating, for months before. And when they start to talk about it, that's really when they want to dump on retail.
I agree with that, but could we be a little more clear? What do you mean by they? When I hear they, I think of the type of person that SBF gave a blank check to, maybe editor-in-chief, CEO, maybe then telling his journalists. What do you, when you say they, what do you think of?
Yeah, so I mean the establishment, right? So a lot of the media, most of the media is controlled by these entities that control most of the world's money supply. So they pay off, PR agents and media outlets to spin the story in the direction that they want things to go. So when I say they, I mean the establishment and really those who are working against retail.
Yeah, when I say they, I mean theybies, because they haven't chose yet. Farouz, quick question. Did any of the recent events open your eyes about crypto journalism specifically? I'm talking about the Block CEO and maybe some of the puff pieces that came out. Basically, the whole SBF debacle. Has your opinion on crypto journalism changed over the last 90 days?
It has. I think they received like 25 million, I think, from SBF. And the issue there to me is first of all, that wasn't disclosed. It was pretty much under the table. So you've got to question how much of the positive print, the positive spin that you see being pushed out, for those who don't deserve it. In fact, what you are getting there is bought media. Now, at the same time, one can argue that in order to put out press there, you do have to pay for that as well. But there's a way of putting press out there and being open about it, and that it's been sponsored or whatever it may well be. But certainly, hush money under the table to a media outlet is something completely different, because then you are ultimately controlling the narrative to a certain extent.
All right, when you talk about control the narrative, it seems like we're kind of getting away from the big media more into citizen journalism. Do you think there's going to be a dark ages period before we have enough citizen journalists where they can really do the old gumshoe beat and really investigate the powers that be and then bring down the bad actors in the space? Or are we going to have a 5, 10, potentially even more period of just heavy misinformation?
I think heavy misinformation will continue to be there. It will always be there. And obviously, sponsorships, pushing out ads, all of these things you can pay in order to get content out there through technology. But again, one thing that we are seeing a lot of recently, and I would say so, is something with like Twitter Spaces. That's kicking off. You're getting a lot of independent people creating Twitter Spaces that's harnessing lots of various social presences, and that is becoming what I would call the hive mind, right? The hive mind that isn't necessarily controlled by a media outlet, but a hive mind of individuals working collectively as one massive brain. That's what we're seeing a lot with Twitter Spaces in general, though.
All right. Well, I'm saying the word misinformation. I do realize that is a loaded term. Cowboys of Crypto, there is a little bit of a pushback to the terms misinformation, disinformation. Some are saying those labels do more harm than good. Where do you land on that when it comes to trying to find out something's veracity?
Look, everyone is playing touch butt with each other. Okay. Every one of these media outlets, every one of these big banks, big corporations, big politicians, crypto exchanges, Binance, FTX, it doesn't matter. I don't trust any of them. They're all playing touch butt. They're all having a good old time right behind closed doors, and they're taking people's bags. The thing is, we have entered into an age where we don't have to trust, we verify. We don't take people's word at it. We don't think, and just for DZ, much respect to you, but I hate when people say there are bad actors out there, because that implies that there are good actors out there. This is not true. Everyone is out for themselves. Everyone is focused on their own little world, and they'll be willing to do anything to get to make sure that they're safe, their place is safe, their people are safe, or themselves are safe. I trust nobody, and I don't think anyone should trust me either. I think people should do our own research, but if we can't do our own, that only goes so far. So we need to implement systems. We need to implement blockchain, because that keeps everything at least somewhat transparent. There's too many times where these guys are just, you have no idea. It just came to light that SBF was paying off both sides of the aisle. So if someone thinks that this is a left side and all this kind of stuff, it's totally false. There's bad people on the Democrats, on the Republican side. Why? Because people are people. People are self-interested. That's why we need blockchain technology. That's why we need transparent systems. That's why we can't trust these big brother institutions. And I'm not gonna go government. I'm gonna go everywhere, right? And when I saw the sickness, the flu come through here, any individual system was looking out for its own organization. It was very difficult, and they had to make very difficult decisions. But when difficulty happens, people start to look out, and they look inside themselves, and they start to take care of their own places. We have to depend more on transparent systems. We always verify, we don't trust.
All right, that's good. I almost want to just go down there are no selfless acts. Everything has a selfish origin there. There is something to that, but we need Arcane Bear and Contrarian Dude, and then we can go deep on those topics, because hey, even Mother Teresa had a selfish reason, right? She wanted to go to heaven. Correct. That's you could say it's selfish. All right, let's talk a little Binance. Now we're getting it's too late in the day for all these, or not early. It's not late enough, I should say. Let's talk a little BNB. That's right, Binance still in the news. The coin maybe not doing so well. It is down 6%, but only down 3% against Bitcoin, and down less than 1% against Ethereum. If we look at the all-time chart, you see wow, that's sorry. When I scroll too far down, it almost doesn't look real. This was then the airdrop happened, and then slowly but surely buying pressure happened. You can see Bitcoin's nice run up early 21, and then the November run up. But now down a little bit. If we just look at the 1-year chart, essentially almost the whole time in the negative there. A little bit of a period where it went up, and then just downward pressure ever since here. Farouz, what are your thoughts on Binance? I'm interested to know, just from a outsider's perspective. You don't work there. I don't believe you trade on there or hold your Bitcoin on there for sure. What are your thoughts about Binance?
Look, I mean, Binance as a whole, I like CZ. I think out of all the actors we've seen in this space, certainly from the exchange perspective, I like to think that he's for the people and with the people. He's obviously trying to push through some of that transparency, introducing the proof of reserves. But then one could argue again, like we said, that could be more of a selfless act, because he has a lot more than the others to showcase for it. But again, I mean, saying this, with Binance, we see a lot of FUD out there at the moment, and a lot of that is really the spillover from what's happening with FTX. But again, he's holding himself up well. We've seen him in plenty interviews with various news outlets, and he has a convincing argument against it. So for me, I think Binance is completely fine. I think we're just going through a period of FUD, which clearly happens. But overall, I think he'll come out maybe not squeaky clean, but clean enough.
I actually agree with that. I think he's in my opinion, he's given out pretty satisfactory answers. Nerd Girl, did you have a chance to see the CNBC interview?
Yeah, I did.
What were your thoughts on his answers? He essentially saying, we have 1-to-1 reserves except for stable coins. We don't, do you trust him at his word there?
So no, I don't ever trust anyone at their word. And I think that multiple audits of Binance and really audits of everything, the proof of reserves audits have shown that like none of these platforms really have everything that they say that they have. However, it does look like Binance has, close to enough of what they need to cover withdrawals if everybody wants to withdraw. One thing that CZ said that I really strongly disagree with is just kind of, 99% of people will lose their crypto if they self-custody. And that's where I really start to like get a little, eked by CZ, because
what do you think that number is? To be fair, what do you think that number is?
I don't know. I think that that's really difficult to say, but I think that what we really should do as an industry, rather than telling people, hey, it's safer to hold your tokens on a centralized exchange or in a custody platform, is to create more educational materials to teach people how to effectively self-custody for themselves, rather than delegating responsibility for that out to an exchange or someone else.
I respect that take. It's he's not saying that he's almost kind of saying that this is a better option than the other option. My take on the percentage of people that wouldn't be able to self-custody, by definition, 50% of the world is stupid if you just go by they're dumber than average. So by definition, I don't think that entire 50% would be able to self-custody after 12 months, 24 months. Maybe a handful would have it still. Cowboys.
Just look at how many people lost because they held their funds on centralized exchanges. And, how could we, draw a comparison to see what percentage of people lost their funds because they were holding them on a platform like FTX or Celsius or, something else that went down, versus what percent of people have lost their funds when they were in self-custody.
Yeah, and we're the ones who are like actually doing the work, not the person who's just all of a sudden given a seed phrase and told to hold on to it. Cowboys of crypto, what are your thoughts on that statement that 99% of people don't have the ability to self-custody their Bitcoin?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. CZ, possibly one of the great white knights of cryptocurrency. Of course, he's going to want to say that, you're not safe enough to cover your own cryptocurrency. Matter of fact, give it to me. Let me take care of it. That's like saying a daycare will raise my son or daughter better than I can raise it. Incorrect. I raise my son, I raise my children better than any daycare, any provider, any childcare provider can. Why? Because it's mine. I have personal attachment to it. And just like your crypto, your children, my Bitcoin are my children, okay? I need them with me at all times. And for him to say that, it shows that he has motivating factors, like pushing to what he says out there. Here's the thing, the proof of reserves, that's the first step, and that's a great first step. We want to see proof of liabilities. We want to see motivating factors. We want to see who's making the decisions back there in Binance. These are all things that we need, because the fact of the matter is this: you and I need to be putting our coins in DeFi. We need to put our coins on our personal wallets, on our wallets, that other these centralized exchanges that they say they can take better care of ourselves than we can. It's all false. Put your big boy pants on. It's time to grow up, and we're in crypto now, so take care of your own stuff.
Okay. All right. And Farouz, I kind of want to get your take on the accounting from the auditing firm. It's Mazars Veritas audit firm. They work with Binance, KuCoin, Crypto.com, also work with Binance. But they took down the proof of reserves auditing page, and now it's reportedly offline. They're reportedly pausing work globally. Do you see any fire where there's seemingly some smoke?
Look, I think what they're really doing here is they're in the limelight now. We've got some pretty big, large exchanges, that are putting proof of reserves out there. But one of the biggest issues that we have currently right now is regulation. We don't have any regulation in this space, right? So for somebody to come in and say this is what proof of reserve should be can be questioned, right? Because now what will come under sort of scrutiny is what are their motives for proving that they have so and so reserves. So these guys have clearly taken a step back from this, because until some form of regulation comes in that says this is the framework that you should have, these are the metrics that you should look at when it comes to proof of reserve. And it shouldn't just be proof of reserve on its own. Just like Aaron mentioned before, we also need things like proof of liability. So for an auditor to come in, they need to be able to provide the whole entire package. So when we look at an exchange, we know exactly proof of reserves versus proof of liability. How much actually are they in the green? Or actually, if their liabilities do fall on them, they could be worthless for all we know.
Yeah.
So
I went to school for accounting, and this entire thing's just been so frustrating hearing people talk about the auditing and the accounting. Nerd Girl and Cowboy, someone said, we're talking about children. Nerd Girl, you tweet about being a mother. Children in cold storage? Nerd Girl, thoughts?
So I mean, if what they mean by kids in cold storage would be like in your own care instead of in the care of someone else as Cowboys close it out, like, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I can't even tell you how many times I've wanted to be like, oh, I'm just going to pull my daughter out of school and homeschool her. It's just, quitting work would be really difficult, but that's really the ultimate goal, like that's the ultimate, making sure that your kids are not being brainwashed by a system that's really just there to turn them into workers or cogs in a machine. And yeah, I mean, that's
Hey, we got to fill those factories, Nerd Girl. We have to fill those factories. Cowboys of Crypto, kids in cold storage, yes or no?
Look, it's fear or laziness. This is what it comes down to. You're either fearful or you're lazy. You're lazy enough to where you trust someone else to take care of your own children, to take care of your own kids. And I'm talking about the Bitcoin, baby. And I'm not really, but you know what I mean? We could draw the analogy only so far here. We have to be able to take responsibility of our own stuff. Far too many times when we give up our power, people take it and they take advantage of it. Far too many times. I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying far too many. And it's one too many for this cowboy.
Okay, I was just going to say, Nanny 911, those ladies seem like they know what they're talking about much more than me. That's all. That's just my 2 cents. We are going to end a little bit early today. Me and Drew, we have to get ready for the Christmas party. I don't know if we can zoom out. I have the ho-ho hodl. You got to let me know when you're doing that, man. No one wants to see the Deezy flab. This is post-Thanksgiving. All right, don't worry. January 1st is my New Year's resolution. All right, that is all we have time for. Farouz, it looks like you have the most points. And oh my God, I'm watching the views. They're leaving. They're leaving in droves. It must have been me being shirtless.
Man. Looks like Friday's my day.
Leave us with some
No, look,
thoughts.
I mean, I just want to say a big thank you out to the Around the Blockchain crew for, giving us the opportunity to come here and debate and talk crypto. And, for those who have found this channel for the first time, again, feel free to follow the other participants here as well. It's good to get a balanced view around crypto. And I think the last thing that I will end on is now is the time to start preparing. Now is the time to start looking at those projects that you're interested in, because you have a great opportunity coming up next year. You really do.
All right, and I'm seeing the chat. I'm blind. All right, you little mother trucker. And someone wants us to live stream the Christmas party. We're going to ask TJ. We'll try to. And until Monday, see you in the future, Bit Squad.